Good afternoon, distinguished participants. How are you today? Good. So,
Good.
yep, yeah.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you. So, thank you for participating to both who are watching online and those who are present in the broadcasting room at AIT Thailand. I'm Tani, Unit Program Officer Management, implementing the EU-funded Switch Asia. I would like to extend warmest welcome to all of you to the Regional Policy Dialogue to promote sustainable lifestyle through tourism sector. This is the first in the series. We have 2 more sectors coming in a couple of months. And we have an honor to deliver this hybrid event with AIT, or Asian Institute of Technology, one of our regional centers of excellence. The ultimate goal of this joint effort is to promote and enhance understandings and application of sustainable consumption and production, or we know as SCP, in policies and implementation. We hope that SCP is promoted to be an effective tool to plan for national resources management, socio-economic development, and especially during this pandemic, we hope SCP can be adopted as a policy guidance for all sectors to build back better. Before I give the floor to Dr. Vilad, I would like to thank all speakers for their time to share experiences, and I hope all participants be encouraged to provide feedbacks, ask questions, give comments, and exchange your views. So I wish you all a fruitful 1.5 hour dialogue. Thank you. Dr. Vilad, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Tuni, for warm welcome to all of us. My name is Vilas from AIT. I'll be acting as a moderator within this afternoon session. So according to the agenda, we're going to have first part as introduction. After that, we have a short video in order to present an overview of our topic. It will be a short video, and I will summarize some of the key parts from the video. After that, we have a total of 3 presentations by our experts and practitioners. So those will continue until about 5:15. Just to also remind all participants, we have a Q&A session before we finish this afternoon. So you may like to start sending any question, comment to the chat. I hope you can access the chat box on the Zoom. And our team would manage in the last part to accommodate any question to respond to all of you. Next, let's move on. I'd like to invite Ms. Helena Ray, Program Officer of UNEP, to provide introduction to this seminar. Ms. Helena, please.
Thank you, Professor Vilas. Huge thanks to organizing for this important webinar and inviting me to give opening remarks. Good morning and good afternoon to all. As you well know, COVID-19 has made definitely us to rethink the way how we live and how we travel, questioning the impact of our travel in leisure on our health and consumption choices. The tourism sector is facing many environmental impacts due to the pandemic, which I highlight here in the next slide. The tourism sector it's not only facing environmental impacts, but economic impacts that will be shared with our panelists today. My intention is not going on details on each one of the impacts and related sustainable development goals, as some of those will be addressed by the panelists today. Could you please put the slide on so everybody can see? In general terms, main environmental impacts relate to the increase of waste generation, water use and chemicals, as well as change in travel mobility as a response to the increased health and safety requirements. Travel facilities, tourism business, and tourists will be producing more waste than usual, including masks, gloves, and other protected equipment, as well as food packaging products that may be infected with the virus. When not soundly managed, infected waste could be subject to uncontrolled dumping and pollution, leading to public health risks and secondary transmission of diseases of humans. Travel mobility behaviors have also changed, with people looking for more local and regional tourism. In China, where tourism is uptaking, a recent research of Skyscanner found out that the intention to fly in 2020 dropped 70% in Asia. This will definitely have a decrease in terms of emissions. However, it's expected that the rebound and the retake of tourism will take it to previous levels as before the crisis. This could be an opportunity to develop a more sustainable tourism products and services for these new concerned tourists. Consumers are now preferring to avoid crowded tourism hotspots. Travel for shopping has dropped to the bottom of popularity list, and tourism in natural areas increased 200% in some countries. These trends also indicate that traditional mass tourism has reached its peaks in growth. In contrast, ecotourism, cultural, and adventure tourism are taking the lead and are predicted to grow faster over the next 2 decades. This is particularly important as tourism has helped conserve natural and protected endangered species. In the absence of tourists, the tourism impacts, the economic impacts for nature and communities can be dramatic. Tourist data shows that people do not change behavior based on what they should do, statistics, nor negative future scenarios. People make decisions based on price, accessibility, and additional criteria like safety, well-being, or trends. Sustainability today is not the defining criteria for tourism choices, and there is a lack of affordable and sustainable tourism products and services. As beyond individual, tourists, governments, and business must provide information, promote positive behavior change, and support new business models to make healthy and sustainable travel the default option. In a changing world during post-COVID, our living and lifestyles decisions will determine our future and the future of tourism. I'm a stronger believer that this pandemic has emerged as an opportunity for us to incorporate sustainable consumption and production patterns to build back better the tourism sector post-COVID-19. I hope the interventions today inspire you in shaping the travel that we all want and that is sustainable. Thank you for listening, and back to you, Professor Vilas.
Thanks very much, Helena. I think short but sweet, very informative presentation. I think this would be a good chance for us to continue with a video presentation. We have prepared this so that we can capture some of the key information. So let's watch our short video. We have about 5 minutes.
The effects of COVID-19 are felt around the globe, more so for the tourism industry, one of the hardest hit economic sector. The data from the United Nations World Tourism Organization suggests a decline of 58% and 78% in international tourist arrivals during 2020 and has 100 to 120 million direct tourism jobs at risk. The global pandemic has caused unprecedented socio-economic impacts and at the same time raised our awareness of the role sustainability needs to play in our everyday life. It represents an opportunity to accelerate sustainable consumption and production patterns and building more resilient, sustainable industry. We need a long-term and holistic thinking to transition to a more sustainable tourism model based on social inclusion and the restoration and protection of the environment. There is no doubt of the great benefits tourism sector provides in terms of socio-economic development and employment, which are now at stake. But it's not too late. We have one planet. We need to do our part. It is time to share and learn from each other and see the silver lining amidst today's challenges in building back the tourism industry better. We can learn from good practices. Some examples include hotels opting for energy-efficient solutions like solar energy power heaters, reducing the carbon footprints. There are some destinations offering ecotourism packages and caring more to reduce plastic waste and trace and track the waste produced by their guests and consciously aim to reduce it. Simple efforts like eco-friendly detergents could have long-lasting positive ecological impact. Some hotels and resorts have started rainwater harvesting and started a cycle of using locally sourced and sustainable products for creating hotel decors. We need continuous innovation and intervention to reach our goal of building back better. Together, we work for sharing the good practices and moving towards a more resilient, sustainable tourism industry with embedded practices of sustainable consumption and production patterns.
So I hope you enjoy our video. I like to mention, in fact, continuing from what Helena has already introduced. So we all recognize the pandemic has significant impacts currently and can be in the future. So some of the impacts could be in the short term, some may be in the long term, some could have really direct immediate impact, but some could be indirect. Again, any of these might be negatives, but some could be also positive. Maybe the good chance we remind ourselves and look at what could be a challenge and what could be opportunities. So the good chance we are joining together to look at can be from consumption, can be from production, can be from producers or consumer or policy decision maker. So hopefully each of us would have some role to share our experience, information, and can be possible actions. So let's move on. The next three presentations will be more specific on how we understand a particular aspect and the case. The first presentation would be on the topic of impact of COVID-19 on tourism consumption and production patterns in future. This is a case study from our two experts. The first one, Mr. Tomohiro Hamakawa. I hope I pronounce his name not badly. He's a co-founder of Mana Earthy Paradise. He will share by another speaker in the same session, Mr. Nopon Dechapangam. Again, I hope not very badly pronounce his name, who is a founder and CEO of Non organization. So let's welcome Mr. Tomohiro.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the kind introduction. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, great.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. I'm calling in from Bali, actually from the Eco Hotel that I'll be presenting you about. Here's the view that I see in front of me, so you can see where I'm at. Can I share my screen? Yeah. Okay. Let me. Okay. All right. So, yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity. My name is Tomo Hamakawa. I'm originally from Japan, but I've been in Bali for the last 6 years. And my wife and I started this sustainable hotel about a year ago called Mana Earthly Paradise. It's a hotel, it's a hospitality business. So we've been hit hard by the pandemic, like millions of people in other parts of the world. And we're basically trying to survive and to come out of it stronger and better. So Mana is a next generation eco hotel. It's run by an NGO called Earth Company that my wife and I founded 6 years ago. And Mana is based in Ubud, Bali. And many of you may have been here before. So it looks like this. We're in the middle of the rice fields. Beautiful area to just even walk around. Here's an aerial view, and there's a reason why the red roof buildings are not thatched roof, and I'll tell you more about that later. And so why do we exist? Why does Mana exist in the first place? As many of you know, the mass tourism has a significant environmental impact. So this is data from Bali. Tourists use about 2,500 liters of water per day, while the locals use only 180 liters. So tourists are using about 10 times more or even more. Similar data for waste. So tourists generate on average about 3.7 kilos, while the locals generate only 0.7. So it's more than 5-fold. And in the case of Bali, most of this trash actually ends up in the landfill. So it's really not a sustainable consumption that's practiced by the tourism industry. And so when we started when we started designing this place, we really wanted to be part of the solution and not the problem. And we didn't just want to talk about it. We really wanted to be the change that we wanted to see in the world. And so what is Mana? So we want to exemplify a truly circular and regenerative economy where the more profits businesses make, the better the world will become. And it's really about the triple bottom line, right? So it's the profits, the people, and also the planet. We're also respect and try to incorporate a lot of the Balinese philosophy on Turhita Karada, which is the harmony with the gods, with nature, and among the people. And so at Mana, we have 3 main facilities. There's the hotel part, the villas, there's the restaurants, and also there's the market, which is actually just below where I'm standing. So the eco villas. So the 6 villas are actually made of this technique called earth bag. And it's a very simple, cheap, fast, durable, ecological way of building. And because it's so innovative and cost effective, it's actually used in refugee camps and promoted by UNHCR. And I've also heard that it's now being used in space missions by NASA. So it's a really kind of pioneering technique that has minimum environmental burden. And the other thing is that it slows heat transfer. So it's quite cool during the day because it actually gets the cool air inside and then actually stays quite warm during the night because of slow heat transfer. This is what it looks like inside. So there's 100% of the light is powered by solar. We're using bamboo, another sustainable material. Recycled mattresses, which my friend Naps will talk more about in a little bit, right after me. And then also all the wood that you see is actually sourced sustainably from a government protected forest. So we didn't cut down a single tree that wasn't protected or that wasn't recycled. Another view, so there's earth bag, there's also the door that's recycled wood, and then there's also rainwater. So I mentioned the restaurant and the office buildings are actually using regular panel roof to be able to collect rainwater, and we collect the rainwater underneath this water tank underneath the parking lot, and we filter that water. And so all the water that's supplied to the kitchen, to the villas, to everywhere is actually drinkable already. And so we also serve that water as drinking water. And we're also using upcycled glasses. This is a view of the toilets and the shower. So again, using rainwater and also using this eco shower head to reduce water consumption. Also using 100% natural soap so that we don't pollute the environment. This is the view of the dormitory. So we also wanted to make this kind of sustainable tourist experience into an affordable one. Because as you know, this sector is also becoming high-end, becoming a luxury thing. But we really wanted to make this affordable and accessible even to students and young people. So this place, the dormitory is about $20 a night or even less. And then people can really experience what it's like to be, future oriented and sustainability focused. And so you get your own power charger for your devices that's powered by solar. And again, all the wood is recycled. This is a view of the outside, so solar panels. There's a thing called the Wastewater Garden. So we try to filter the wastewater from the villas as much as possible locally before releasing that water. And so we actually spend a lot of effort in terms of water, so getting water from the sky. And then once we use it, we try to clean that water through plants, actually. Very low technology, right? Through the use of plants that actually thrive in wastewater. Next, about kitchen. So the food that's served at our kitchen is also quite particular and unique. So we try to do farm to table as much as possible. We have a permaculture garden on the ground, so a lot of the vegetables that are served in the restaurant are from the garden. We also do organic, no MSG, no GMO, no beef. We're also using heirloom seeds. Yeah, and then there's this soup called the veggie broth, which is actually basically food waste. So vegetable skin and vegetable parts that are usually thrown away, but if you actually boil that for a long time, it's the most nutritious part and is also delicious. And so we're trying to minimize waste, food waste as much as possible. Here's what our food looks like. Image of our farm to table. So growing pumpkin on site and then turning that into delicious pumpkin soup, which I actually had just an hour ago. Yeah. Upcycle glasses, as you know. So we're using old wine bottles, beer bottles, different kinds of bottles. So we don't have to basically create something new from scratch. This is what the restaurant looks like. So throw lights, rain catchment again, wastewater garden on the sides. And then the Mana Market is a shop that sells organic, ecological, ethical, social, and local products. And so some of the products that are sold here are reusable pads, also zero waste concepts, so selling soap and other things in bulk, salt made by NGO. Basically, if you buy something here, you know it's good for the environment, you're contributing to social impact, and it's also good for yourself because it's natural and organic. and all those things. So yeah, so very, we are NGO, and so we really have a particular way of doing things and making sure that all the products are procured and supplied from ethical sources. Some of the other facilities, Yogashala, Permaculture Garden, Kids Playground, that's coming soon. We also have a lot of events, farmers markets, movie nights, fundraiser events. A lot of these things are hard to do in this pandemic, as you guys can imagine. But in the last few months, we've also tried to do things to really support each other, support communities around us. Even though we ourselves are struggling financially, we want to become a platform so that other people, businesses, communities can actually support each other. So we held a local food market to support local food producers and vendors that are hit hard by the pandemic. We also hosted a local fundraiser to buy products made by rural villages in Bali. So this is like traditional fabric, traditional like honey, it might be coffee. And so, yeah. And then also we're contributing to this initiative that's happening this weekend called the Plastic Exchange, which is a pretty innovative program. Basically, locals collect plastic and then are basically sold and exchanged for rice. And there is some, financial subsidy to the system, but it's really, helping communities clean up their communities, especially picking up plastic, but then having some economic return from that process. So that's about it from my side. I hope that wasn't too long. Happy to answer any questions. If you guys want to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever, or want to message me with questions or whatever, yeah, please click any of these links. And yeah, looking forward to keeping in touch with everyone. Thanks very much.
Thanks so much, Tomo. Very interesting manner.
Thank you.
Mr. Nopon, would you like to continue?
Hello. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm calling from Bangkok. So my name is Nopon Deshapangam, or Nabs. I'm the founder and CEO of Non. So it's the mattress that Tomo mentioned earlier. Hold on, please. Oops, sorry. So our mission is, so we want to help businesses eliminate their upfront investment, especially those on products, and also help them eliminate the concept of waste through a platform that combines product subscription model or rental with end-of-life recycling. So the first product category that we focus on is mattress for hospitality businesses such as hotels, resorts, dormitories, etc. So these are the pain points faced by hospitality businesses currently. So a lot of them can't afford to purchase high-quality mattresses. So by high quality, I mean mattresses that last longer than 2 to 3 years. So the low quality mattresses last only up to 3 years and they would have to be thrown away. Whereas high quality mattresses are not only more comfortable, but then only last up to 10 years. And the second pain point is hotels, resorts, dormitories, they all have difficulty disposing of their used mattresses in ethical, eco-friendly manner. And the third problem is mattresses recycling is not currently financially viable. So that's why around the world, hundreds of millions of mattresses are placed in landfills or openly burned or incinerated or fly tipped every year. So it's actually quite a crisis that we're facing. So our solution is we provide mattress as a service. So it's a form of rental. So our customers subscribe, use, return, and return the mattresses. And in this way, we can recycle the mattresses at the end of their lives. So our model is actually pretty simple. We acquire the mattresses at cost from the manufacturers, and then we rent them up to our customers. Our customers then pay us monthly for the mattresses. So we start from 65 baht per month per mattress in Thailand, and abroad our rental fee starts from $1.9 per mattress per month. And at the end of the subscription, which lasts between 5 to 10 years, that is 60 to 120 months, we collect back the mattresses for free, and we take them all apart and recycle everything. And to fund the acquisition of the mattresses, we use debt financing, which is backed by our receivables. So this is why we make business sense. So our customers, so on the business side, our customers gain access to high quality mattresses that are not only more comfortable, but then last up to 5 times longer. And secondly, there's a financial saving of 33% over the entire subscription cycle compared to an outright purchase. So this follows from point 1. And the third point is our customers enjoy a stress-free end-of-life disposal of mattresses, so that they don't really have to worry, how to deal with the mattresses that have really passed the end of their lifetimes. And for our business model is more eco-friendly, more sustainable. This is why we matter, even though COVID is still raging, but then we expect the resumption of growth in tourism globally post-COVID-19. Obviously, we think the good times would eventually come back, perhaps like starting from next year. And second, there's a growing demand from the businesses to and their guests for more affordable, eco-friendly business solutions, obviously driven by the worsening environmental crisis. And third, there's an elevated and growing demand for from businesses for subscription-based business solutions to reduce their upfront investment, especially post-COVID-19, because now cash is king, and then more businesses are looking to save the upfront investment. And fourth, circular economic business model like ours has emerged as the world's future operating system. And this is the addressable market size. So on the right-hand side, you can see the number of new mattresses that we needed by the industry around the world over the next 5 years between now and 2024. So as you can see, millions more mattresses are due to enter the market, within the next 5 years. So without our business model, all these mattresses would eventually become waste and end up in landfills, in the oceans, in the rivers, or getting burned openly. But on the business side, we think the market would be worth more than $1 billion from 2021 onwards, or next year onwards. And these are our supplier partners. So in Thailand and CRMV, we work with SpringMate. So we work with leading mattress brands in each market, in each markets that we operate. So in Thailand is SpringMate, in Indonesia is Spring Air, and in India is Duroflex. So we have plans to expand to other countries in Southeast Asia and also to South Asia as well. So this is our traction so far. So we started in the third quarter of 2018, and at the moment, 308 mattresses have been deployed. So we have 6 customers in Thailand, B2B customers, and we have 3 B2B customers in Indonesia, including Mana, Tomo's resort. And we have started experimenting with the retail customers as well. So that's why we have 2 in Thailand, 2 retail customers. So this is how a mattress can be recycled. So a mattress is like a sandwich. So it comprises the inner structure, basically springs and foams, like polyurethane foams, which are kind of plastic. And the whole structure is upholstered by fabrics and fibers. So with the fabrics and fibers, these can be upcycled or reused as industrial oil filters, and also have other textile applications. And the steel springs can be melted down and be used again as steel. And the foams, the polyurethane foams, can be chemically broken down to what is called polyomonomers. So polyomonomers are the building blocks, the constituent molecules of polyurethane foams. So by breaking down the polyurethane foams into polyomonomers, we can actually end up creating new forms from these monomers. So this is how we imagine that the mattress could be recycled. So at the moment, the first lot of mattresses will be returned to us in around 5 years' time. So we're doing more research on how to make sure that the recycling process could achieve break-even economically. So more research is needed, because at the moment, mattress recycling, as I mentioned earlier, is not a financially viable business. So so at the end, if the recycling process, if our recycling process doesn't end up breaking even, then we would have to subsidize the recycling processes with the profit generated from the subscription side, from the rental side. So that is from me. So I would be happy to answer your questions after this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nap. I think we have heard from another interesting case. Both of them have something common in terms of production, obviously related to the consumption. Very nice that we have heard from the practitioners, also experts, talking about both short-term, and Mr. Nap also realized about the long-term. Good to hear that after some years, there will be a growing demand on the mattress that he tried to do more recycle. I think we like to move on, and before that, like to remind participants, we will have a Q&A before closing session. So I'd like to remind, if any of you would like to send question, comments through the chat, you may do so now until before the Q&A session. And we skip Q&A at this point, and we will combine after 3 presentations. To move on, I think we have heard from the practitioners on specific production and aspect. Maybe the good chance now to hear about the prospect and challenge covering tourism in Bali. So we going back to Bali again, but I guess this will be a broader contents. Will be presented by Dr. Agung Suyawan Wiranatha, who is the head of Center of Excellence in Tourism, Udanaya University, Bali. Dr. Agung, please.
Yeah, I would like to say about the prospect and challenge of Bali tourism in the era of COVID-19 pandemic. So we in Bali has been, got a very bad situation under the COVID-19 pandemic. So businesses already impact mostly by this kind of thing. But the government in Indonesia try to work on the health strategy first. They have do many things about this. And then after a few months of that, they realized that economic cannot be what we call cannot be stay calm, but they have to move on and so on. And then the government of Bali try to look at what is the impact of coronavirus in Bali. So we say the foreign tourists almost down 100%, minus 99.9, because it's still some foreigners stay in Bali. Very few of them, they prefer to stay in Bali, and the government of Indonesia facilitating them to stay here. And then according to the calculation of the government of Bali, it's about 9.7 trillion rupiah per month revenue losses from foreign tourists. It's about 650 million US dollar per month because there is no foreign tourists coming to Bali. So in the regional economic, so it suffers so much for the second what we call term in this year. Economic of Bali has falling down almost minus 11%. And unemployment directly and formally is about 70,000%. But if we consider informal sector, it could be much more than that. So travel and tourism industry in Bali greatly impacted by the coronavirus. And as our colleague, Mr. Tomo said that they just got a business in Bali, and now they try to do their best to be survived. So this is the number of impact on tourism in Bali. Closing hotel operation. Almost 300 star hotel in Bali has been closed. So there are some more non-star rated hotel also closed. So you can see the 5-star hotel is about 41 hotel, 4-star hotel 71 hotel, 3-star hotel 118, and so on. mostly are in area of Badung and then Pasar. So this is the impact of tourism in Bali for the hoteliers. So when we try to do the economic recovery, we have to go to the new normal situation. And in my opinion, the new normal is back to normal plus, just back to normal plus back to the beginning as usual, and plus the safety and hygiene protocol and physical distancing and so on. So this kind of thing we can see from normal to the new normal. There's some picture here, I got it somewhere. And from hotel, now they have special treatment using disinfectant or UV light for the room and so on. So in Bali, the government of Bali and also government of Indonesia also released the handbook of how to what we call manage your property and your businesses during the pandemic. They have to use the health and safety protocol. Yeah, there are some guidelines in tourism and also in specific tourism activities as well, like MICE and so on. So that's the thing that government try to do. But during this coronavirus pandemic, we still have many challenges, especially on the health. So if we try to cope with this new era, and we have to do something to protect our health. So we need extra equipment. Yeah. It's been extra investment. We need extra materials to fight the COVID regularly, like disinfectant and so on. So it increased operational costs. Also, when you open your business in tourism, you have to reduce your capacity of business because we have to do physical distancing and then also social distancing. And then when visitor traveling outside the cities to another city, they have to do a certain test. Also, if you go overseas, you have to do a special COVID test. It become more expensive for traveling. So challenges also for transportation, attraction, and tourist generation and amenity. For transportation as well, the transport businesses reduce their capacity, yeah, to be able to do the physical distancing. And at the moment, we have only a few flights can fly, and to become more expensive. And also for international and domestic, the priority is domestic flight and the need the test requirement. In some country, I heard that they are free of charge for people who come to the country, and they will get a free COVID-19 swab test, for example, in Sri Lanka. But in Indonesia, we still charge them normally. In terms of destination product, we talk about the amenity. In amenity, they have to do some extra effort, as I said previously, to protect the guests and their employment. They should have a new normal standard operating procedure. So there will be more procedure should be undertaken by guests through their property before they come in. For example, they have to wash their hand, they have to test, taking the temperature test and so on. So sometimes it's not good and makes people feels less hospitality. And also in transport, as I said previously, we already said there's less flight, more expensive and so on. And then the destination, attraction. So for the tourist generating regions, there's also problem. Australia closed border until December 2020. So our main market in Bali, especially Australia, No, none of the Australian people can come to Bali because they close the border. Also, from Chinese tourists, there's still some what we call challenges for the Chinese tourist market to come to Bali or to Indonesia. But we have a prospect. In Bali, we have a geography, temperature higher and humidity, so that less suitable for COVID. Some people say that, but it's not proved yet. Also in Bali, we have mostly nature-based attraction as well as culture, but nature-based attraction will be less likely COVID-19 because they're in open area. And also we have some island, small island that can be spreadly by sea and protected by COVID from other islands. So demography, for the moment, we focus on domestic market. So number of people in Indonesia to become one of great market. In Indonesia also we have ethnic group. So a different group have different culture. We have a rich culture, so they can visit some area, some cities with different culture. So it easy access as well through road in an island, because there are some places with what we call with ferry you can access, like in Bali from Java you can access Bali by road through ferry. So what we have to do in the COVID-19 new normal, we have to change our tourism paradigm. So in Bali, they have already discussion by the government of Bali. They try to move from quantity of mass tourism to quality of tourism. Because of this COVID, they would like to speed up moving from mass to quality tourism. And also in Bali, we have a chance to promote nature-based attraction, because we have a lot of beach for marine tourism and also for other water sport, ecotourism, agri-tourism, rural tourism, and also we have adventure tourism like rafting, hiking, parasailing, paragliding, and also mountain hiking. And also we have geotourism, like in Batur Geopark, we have geotourism. And because of the open air activity, mostly lessly like to be infected by COVID. So in Bali, we have a resort type of accommodation. Yeah, mostly resort type of accommodation. The villa or bungalow, they open air, like what you see before from Mana Resort. They mostly open air, open restaurant, and so on. So it's less likely to be infected by COVID-19. So the activity there, it could be much safer. So what is the we have to do? In Bali, we have focus on domestic market, short-haul flight. Because of short-haul flight, it could be consume less fuel. Yeah, also, we have focus on open space activities in the nature-based attraction, and also use less energy. It means that when we are what we call, when we are accommodating the situation now with the new normal, it seems that we can also use less energy in tourism. And then less energy, it means that less greenhouse gas emission, and then prevent climate change. So we will contribute to the mitigation of climate change as well. In relation to sustainable tourism, as I said before, less tourists coming to Bali at the moment, there will be less consumption. So supply can be taken mostly from local production. When Bali is flooded by a visitor, many food supply from outside the island. When we can take the local production, it means that it will give the local economic benefits. And also when we use local production, it means that need less transportation to bring the products from the source to the market. It means that less gas emission as well, and support healthy human life. And less gas emission also will prevent climate change, and there will be better climate, support the ecosystem. When the system supported by the good climate, and the sustainable development could be easier to be reached. And as we see, I have an idea that the positive side of pandemic COVID-19 is the mother nature can breathe easily, less pollution, less impacts on climate change. On the COVID-19 can stop people going out. So we got a problem with tourism, but in the same time, this pandemic bring a good thing for the mother nature. So I think it's to become a return point for us. We have to think a bit what we call. We have to think back that what we have done before maybe is harm for the mother nature. So now we have to look after mother nature very well. So we have to move from mass tourism to the quality tourism. That's all my presentation. Thank you very much. If there is any question, so we will be happy to discuss later. Thank you.
Many thanks, Dr. Akung. I look forward
so
to
I have to stop.
Return back to Bali. Hopefully,
yeah, welcome to Bali again, Villa. So we will have some something new to see. Okay,
yeah.
Sorry, can you stop my share because my yeah, stop my sharing. Okay, have been done. The stop. Okay, thank you. Okay, it's good.
Thanks, Dr. Akung again. Quite interesting what's happening in Bali, and you have mentioned both very emerging challenge we have seen, and anyway, still some opportunities you have identified. Again, to remind, we will move the question and answer to a bit later. So maybe the good chance to cover the last presentation on the topic of community-based tourism and small medium enterprise for adapting to the new normal. This will be done by myself. Also quite a good chance continuing from earlier speakers talking about production and a number of points that Dr. Akung has mentioned in terms of some opportunities. So let me share my screen. Yeah, I like to focus on community-based tourism and small, medium enterprise because earlier speaker have also mentioned there could be obviously impacts to any of these, but some opportunities might be interesting. So I also like to go to some specific case based on our student research and research that we have been working with some of our partners. Maybe a good chance to summarize based on this current slide. We have seen a number of challenges. In fact, it's my intention to put more number of opportunity on this slide, simply to encourage what we are discussing. Yeah, we know that the challenge, number one is social distancing. It's quite cross-cutting. So whatever we have been doing and maybe in the near future, still very much recognized on this one. And a number of international travel restrictions. We have heard from earlier speaker also talk about some change in terms of packaging amount, maybe even increasing, but also different characteristics, maybe different types of the materials. The impact can be short or medium term at the moment, and I think that's maybe the challenge. Anything long term, perhaps might be still uncertain. Then try to identify some of the major challenges, which I think quite related to what have mentioned been mentioned by earlier speaker, and I will go to some specific case to elaborate. Number one, we recognize that natural resource can be much recover, and the quality might be getting better. So this could also be a good chance to, like Dr. Akung mentioned, into the paradigm shift. The small and medium enterprise, we have seen some number of hotels in Bali. That's also quite interesting. Maybe want to see the percentage or kind of ratio, but my best guess, the big size, large size hotel might be badly affected compared to small and medium enterprise, not only the hotel, other types of the business. Also good opportunity for the remotely local destination resources, because we perhaps need to attract local domestic tourists and some different destination and resources. The opportunity on the short food supply chain, there have been some cases. I will also show one, so that this would provide opportunity to reduce the cost or look for different types of the customer or alternative food network. Healthy food with eco-friendly material. Our earlier speaker have also elaborated from the production supply side. Partnership become quite a good chance at the moment, because people look for maybe more partners adapting, and there might be some new type of the business, we call business model, to be developed and implemented. And yeah, we have done some earlier research in terms of the resilience and coping capacity on different types of, we starting from the natural disaster and other types of risks. We consider COVID-19 pandemic is another type of risk. So perhaps we can utilize the knowledge and some measures to deal with the context of the consumption and production in the tourism. Yeah, I like to point out some specific case. This is the case that I just mentioned. We have been doing research earlier focusing on, in fact, the natural disaster regarding the flood and drought. This is quite interesting case in central Thailand. Look at how community can be resilient to natural disasters. And fortunately, this community also have quite interesting tourism, but very much community-based, small scale, with traditional, earlier not very positive because not many international visitors interest on this destination. But at the moment, based on even typical type of the disaster resilience, we have seen that this can move into SCP in tourism. You can see from the pictures in terms of agricultural products, nature-based, and both fish and plantation, including some good skill, experience of the local people to deal with some other type of risk. They have been quite well adapting to the flood and drought. At the moment, they could utilize their capacity, luckily, to attract the local tourists to their area. This is based on one of our student research. Another interesting case, which is also from another student research in northern Thailand. Yeah, earlier on the left-hand side, as we recognize, there have been some business called like stay like locals, eat like locals. Earlier, the visitor, both domestic and international tourists, like to visit these kind of places. At the moment, we have less visitors, particularly from international travelers. Now, this homestay has adapted itself, modified into some other type of the products still based on agriculture. And at the moment, look at more on the community-based, using online, become agro business delivery. Now reduce the realize from the visitor, but they could connect sending their products through online system, short and long distance. So it's quite interesting. I hope there would be other cases similar to this one. This provides some kind of practical opportunity. Another case is based on our another student research now conducting in Bagan in Myanmar. Yeah, I was told that number of tourists very much reduced, particularly international arrivals. There are some domestic visitors still remain, but very much also reduced. So this show the case that the local people, they still utilize what is called jackery. It's a kind of the palm tree products to produce a kind of sugar. So earlier, they similarly need to rely on the visitor to come and buy and take the product by themselves. Now, because of still very good local demand, right, or even international demand, they could adapt same products to sell online through social media. Another opportunity, in fact, also the challenge because they need to put into packaging. Earlier might be something like traditional plastic or not eco-friendly products, but very nicely done that they have the idea to look for more eco packaging. So this coming from their own community-based tourism and also represent small enterprise. So I like to present a bit more detail on two cases to elaborate on the CBT community-based tourism and small and medium enterprise. Yeah, these two cases are based on our good experience in the earlier research recently completed. We have worked with organization called DASTA. This is an area for sustainable tourism administration to gain this experience, and I'd like to briefly share with you. Yeah, the first case is really about community-based tourism development in selected destination, and the second case dealing with SME, but focusing on the capacity building, developing training curriculum in the tourism accommodation sectors. These are the pictures from the project showing some community-based activities and training conducts as a pilot delivery of the program. Yeah, this slide show some detail which I will not go to, but we could utilize any of the community-based tourism. This is the name of the community we cover in the project research. And there are a number of tourism activities and could be categorized into different types from AC like accommodation, tourist attraction, learning center, recreational activity, transportation, information and service center, and manufacturing products for tourism. I think these are quite typical types of the sectors. And we can see that quite diversified among these community-based area, covering different types of the tourism sectors. Some might be not very positively affected by the COVID, but some of these could have some good opportunity to continue and even adapt themselves, because as we discussed so far, they are not carrying very big investment or high cost, and they might be easy to adapt to the ongoing pandemic. Yeah, this is a detail of those communities. In fact, earlier we worked on how to implement any measures at the community base to reduce greenhouse gas, basically to mitigate greenhouse gas, reduce climate change impact at the community scale. So among these total of 9 community lists, we found that there are popular types of the greenhouse gas emission source from energy, transportation, and waste management. And we have seen that they prefer, this is based on community-based involvement and selection. They prefer some of the simple, less investment and maybe short-term impact of any mitigation measures, adapting to more efficient energy supply, separate and efficient collection of recyclables. These are quite easily to be implemented, and very much they could continue with their own initiatives. They're adopting to increasing efficiency from different types of equipment. This also cover, as I mentioned, different types of tourism sectors, from like food or the restaurants to the transportation to even the temple or other types of the attraction. So this very much a good learning that the community-based approach could be utilized. These are some of the selected pictures from the measures. As I mentioned, they try to use local technology to deal with the energy production or improving efficiencies of the energy use, dealing with the local resources, and very simple separation of the recyclable on their own. So they could reduce amount of plastic going to the open environment and even earn some revenue at the community scale. The second case that I like to share, focusing on the SME. Yeah, as we know that SME plays quite a major role, and there are quite a number of enterprise activities within the tourist sector. Some of them can be private company, some deal with on the individual basis, some can be at the community group or even non-profit organization. But many of them might face some challenge because they might have some limitation, not very much well prepared. So that with the ongoing or dynamic information, they could adapt their business. So in that case, the capacity in specific gaps that this SME might require in order to maintain their basic operation of the business. So this leads into what could be the capacity building that we may have to think about. This might lead into the decision or the policy maker information. This is one of the slides I show based on the result that we conduct the needs assessment and apply the framework of the business model in order to capture different elements of the SME at a certain selected destination. And we structure the needs according to the business model component so that we identify which components and topics of the training are higher needs for this group of the hotels, small and medium enterprise. And we found some of these, they highlight as different colors so that we develop the curriculum based on their priority needs and follow the idea of the business model. Yeah. I hope I can continue. Right? Yeah, sorry, I thought a question coming in between. Yeah, we have tested this curriculum. There's also the good chance, not only from on the paper, implemented a pilot training program for almost a whole week. So it's a good experience that our team gained, getting the feedback and revise the curriculum to move on. Yeah, these are some of the key findings from pilot training that we have conducted. Yeah, we found that this type of the SME face a various challenge and issue towards sustainability. Yeah, the sustainability earlier might be very basic, energy consumption, resource use, even some kind of manpower and so on. But at the moment, this could add into more challenge regarding the sustainability under the pandemic. So the revision of the needs might be required within the same framework. We also found that this SME have the lack of knowledge and experience, not real business type, but more on the management side of the operation. So it requires some of the training on what we call sustainable, green, or eco-friendly business. And our training curriculum from the experience, we could divide into something maybe very basic, because some of the training might want to go to that kind of the knowledge or the skill. Some could be intermediate, some could be advanced, subject to their needs. Yeah, these are some of the examples of what have been implemented, and hopefully still can be a good choice under the pandemic to deal with the green activities, green buy promotion with some discount, green meeting package. A number of the domestic organizations now still going to these hotels so that they can organize some of the green meeting. And they also received comments back and forth from the customer. So hopefully these are still a good initiative to be continued with some adjustment. Yeah, this last slide showing it's a bit quiet place at this destination. Hopefully not because of the COVID, maybe it's still early morning. But yeah, this really show a kind of community-based, small and medium enterprise types of the tourism. I hope still a good chance for visitors, particularly domestic, to go to any of these places, and maybe any of us can still go to somewhere nearby, because they could still have a good chance to accommodate based on what we are discussing. That's all of my presentation. What should we do next? Yeah, I hope we are quite on time, fortunately. Perhaps the good chance at this point, we very much like to give opportunity to participants. I think we have seen some comment messages coming through the chat. Our team also have seen it, and let's see how we move on. Okay, we managed about the slides, about presentation. I hope that will be okay.
Yeah, there is one question from Dr.
Okay. There is maybe you can start from this one. There is an interesting question that asking myself, and let's see if I could respond, or any other speaker might also want to share. Yeah. It said that some tourism agencies which are not located in urban area have successfully transformed their business. And it seems that tourism agency in urban area become more vulnerable in this pandemic situation. Could you share your opinion on measures to enhance the survival capacity of this agency? Yeah, this is a very interesting question, and in fact, quite challenging. I guess we still need to look for more and more innovative measures, but we're very similar to what we found in earlier project when we try to do better collection and separation of the recyclables. I think recyclable is one of the hot topic representing like circular economy, which I also mentioned by earlier speaker. Comparing rural and urban area, in general case, rural area have better opportunities to separate the recyclable so that they can earn money and then they enjoy their activities. In the urban area, it's complicated, including the COVID pandemic, because we have seen that because of density, because of complexity in the urban area. So I think some statistics even saying that 80% or even more cases of affected people are in the urban area. So that's on the COVID side. But on this part, I'd like to get directly to the question. Perhaps some area could still have a big challenge in the urban area. But we believe that some of the urban area, particularly in suburban areas, because our city are very much growing, and there are a number of suburban areas which are not really in the center of the city. We found that there have been some good possibility for community-based waste separation, recycling, as I mentioned. And I believe that to adapt to the COVID based on community-based, there could be some community-based tourism nearby the city. I mean, in the suburban area or peri-urban area, which can still be a good chance. In the middle of the city, I maybe owe you because might be a bit challenging, but I don't know if any other speaker like to share how we have some good initiative in the urban area to deal with the COVID-19. Any of my colleagues like to share anything? I hope you have seen the question, my colleagues. Dr. Akung, do you see these questions?
Yes, I see.
Okay.
Can you hear my voice?
Yes.
Yes, this asking about the responsibility of the stakeholders. So especially in Bali, we say that for the first stakeholder, we say the government. The government has already released some regulation related to the new era of normal because of the pandemic, COVID-19 pandemic. And then I think every government do the same thing. As well as the industry, they follow the government regulation. And in some of government regulation, there's a mention to be a certification of the SOP of new normal. And then the tourism industry organization put them together and they develop a committee under supervision of the government. In this situation is our tourism office. And then based on this, they're working hand by hand with the industry, with the property, and they come to the property doing the assessment, when it's matched to the requirement by the government, and then they will issue the certificate saying that they have done COVID-19 protocol as mentioned by the government, something like that. So this process is still ongoing. I think is might be more than 50 property, hotel and restaurant have done it. And in every regency, not in the province, in every regency, they also have their own team. So like in Denpasar, Badung, Gianyar, they have their own team. So the process will be much faster rather than only one team in the province. That's the tourism organization and the industry themselves. So the problem is in the community. So in the community, at the beginning of the COVID, the local community called Desa Adat or customary village, working hand in hand, and they are working 24 hours in their border and stopping, asking people, checking temperature, and also give hand sanitizer and so on. So during that time, the number of victims in Bali was very low, only 4%, up to 4 months or something like that. And then because of they have no resources at all again, because 24-hour working, 24-hour looking after the village, and then they don't have enough support, and then it's finished. But because of this thing, I think it's from July, August, September, so the number of COVID victims increased sharply in Bali. But now it's already going down again. And I heard a few days ago, Governor of Bali giving financial support again to the local villages, we call a customary village, to do the similar thing as they did at the beginning. But I have no sign the activity back yet. Maybe the money is not reached the village yet, just only information. It could be in the next weeks or few weeks. I hope they will do the similar thing at the beginning, and then Bali will then keep the number of victims very low or zero or something like that. Hopefully then tourism will come back. Without number of COVID decrease or zero, I think there will be visitors or tourists, especially for foreign tourists, come to Bali. So every country will give travel warning or travel ban to their citizens not to go to Indonesia or Bali because of COVID.
Thanks,
that's a thing that I say, yeah.
Thanks, Akung. I would like to
yes.
Give a question to Mr. Tomo and Nap. There is one question. And if we have time, I can respond another question. I read this one. I don't know if Naps and Tomo, you have seen this question.
Which one?
Thank you for sharing inspiring story of your initiatives. Are you currently working with any public sectors, policy makers, or civil society to scale up your activity and impacts?
Yeah, so I just responded to that question in the chat box. Thanks very much for the good question, Anna. We don't have any direct collaboration with policymakers and the public sector, as far as I can remember. But we are part of this new pledge in Bali that was started actually in the COVID era called the Bali Pledge. And it's basically a alliance among sort of conscious, sustainable businesses to build back Bali greener. and inspired by the Bali Pledge, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with. I mean, there are a lot of differences with the Palau case, but it's really similar concept, similar intention, so that whenever visitors do come, that their intention during their stay is actually to leave Bali in a better state, socially, environmentally, culturally, and all those aspects. Yeah, we are actually, as I was speaking, there is one kind of indirect way we're working with the public sector in Japan, at least. We have a grant from the Ministry of Environment in Japan to work on an initiative called Operation Green, and it's basically to help organizations, companies, schools, any organization to make the sustainability shift. And it's really and it's the process that we went through as we were designing and building Mana was that we did a lot of research. We asked eco-technology consultants to advise us on all the things we can do, and we thought, well, if there is a central location where people can actually go to and find out menu of options to make your operations more sustainable, then that would very much improve access to sustainability measures. So that's one thing that we're doing. I'll just paste the link in the chat box, and most of that work is in Japan and in Japanese, but we have some content in English, so I'll share that in the chat box.
Thank you. Hopefully we can go by translator somewhere. Use Google or something. Mr. Nav, would you like to add something?
Right. Thank you, Anna, for the question. Right. So at the moment, we have been trying to get some grants from the public sector here in Thailand. So the grants we used to fund out the research on the foam recycling. That's what we're looking for. We have also we also want to apply for some grants from the UK as well for the same purpose. On the policy side, we haven't worked with anyone at all, I think, so far, because I think the problem is most of the policymakers, they want to focus on like quick fix solutions, like for example, like maybe something that would lead to immediate reduction in plastic use, for example. But then whereas we work on the long term, on like a much longer time scale, and so far that's been a challenge in terms of working with policymakers or the public sector at large. Yeah, because obviously the way we do, because our business model would lead to like a long-term change. Yeah, we are trying to create systemic change in the way mattresses are used. We obviously changing from the current model in which mattresses would have to be purchased, used, and then disposed, and thereby creating waste, to mattresses just having to be rented, used, and then returned. And it would take us obviously at least 5 years to create a real impact. But apart from that, like further afield, we will get featured on like a platform created by the Swedish government, by the city of Gothenburg, later this month. So they're trying to promote our idea in Europe. So I guess that's pretty much all the work that we've been doing with the public sector. I hope that answers your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nav. I think I can combine two questions we see on the screen. One from Meti Ikayani, and another one from Ranchika. Sorry, I just read names so that we are addressing to your question. Yeah, both of them ask about capacity, which I just combine and respond. In fact, what I have presented tried to point out that even before COVID-19, with a simple idea of the green, eco-friendly business, the small, medium enterprise still need some support, specific capacity buildings, which we have learned and then implement something. Now with the additional COVID-19. Maybe this go to policy decision maker or donors. So some of the donors may want to look at this point how specific support to build, to strengthen capacity of the SMEs. I think that's addressed to the two questions by Meti and Ranchika. So we could utilize similar experience, needs, training need assessment, and with different specific business or areas, destination, so that some of the capacity building program could be developed. And would be nice to get, this could call for partnerships, I have mentioned. Maybe a good chance now. I remember when we had big tsunami in 2004, right, in Banda Aceh. Some of the area have a lot of donors support, but not enough area to provide for the donors. That means a bigger budget or support than the need, but it's subject to some management. So under this pandemic, perhaps a number of donors have a lot of money to be provided. Maybe the good chance to prioritize, and this might be some of the idea. I hope I have addressed at least partly this question. Any other points that we want to cover? Our team can. The last one. Oh yeah, yeah. There's a, I hope, challenging question. 3 questions from Farouk, our colleagues. If any of you could maybe respond about aviation sector. Let me read, maybe the last one would be a simple one. If pandemic situation continue for next few years, what would be norms for tourism and aviation sector? Is there any research or study on going on?
May I respond, Professor Vilas? Yeah, there are some research taken on. OECD, I can put in the chat later on. OECD has made some scenarios in terms of travel. This is being updated now. I can add some more information. And the international IATA and the International Aviation Agency is also doing some research, which I can send to the organizers and put some information there. However, the scenarios that are being proposed for the rebound of the tourism sector is not positive. It all depends on when the vaccine is going to be found out and when it's going to be implemented at a global scale. So it's expected that aviation will still have major challenges until the end of 2021. There will be still some regulation in places, even if the vaccine is found in the first quarter of 2021, as expected. As a solution, some countries are investing quite a lot on domestic tourism. Some businesses are also changing the purpose of some of their business models. For instance, in the Caribbean, some destinations are putting houses that are connected, that can provide access to people that can work from their place of work. And then I think that's it's an opportunity also to enhance domestic tourism. over to you, Dr. Vilas, but I will be sending more information through the chat function. I also have shared some of the resources that we have on COVID-19 for the people that would like to have access.
Many thanks, Helena. I hope we can arrange sharing this good information to the participants. Maybe from our team, any important question I'm missing at the moment? Can help? No? If I'm not missing, sorry, perhaps we cannot cover all the questions, comment from the participant, but I apologize if I have missed some of the very important questions, but we try to address as many as possible or combine. In any case, hopefully we still can keep in touch through some communication. So at the moment, perhaps I need to end this Q&A session. Thanks to all questions and also respond by our colleagues. Perhaps I turn this to Mr. Tuni for the closing session, please.
Yes, thank you, Professor Vilas, and also my sincere thanks to all the speakers. I think we come to the end of the dialogue, which we learned a lot about what the increasing impacts on the environment from the COVID-19 and how it's impacting the tourism sector. We have a very good 3 case studies highlighting the feasibility, how to apply SCP, circular economy in tourism business and policies. And it's very interesting that the first 2 case studies did not really mention how the government enabling policies are supporting the change. I personally would have a lot of questions to the first 2 speakers on their inspiration and on the challenges and what the benefit that they see to encourage them to come up with this circular economy approach and also sustainability for the local business. And also the third speaker, we walk us through the policy from the government side, who actually emphasize on how to build back better after this COVID. And we also hear from Dr. Vilas on how community-based tourism and SME somehow what are their situation now. And the highlight come out from that is really lack of knowledge on how to be sustainable. And the training, capacity building somehow would be a very good tool to strengthen this sector to be more sustainable and enhance a sustainable lifestyle. So with this, I would, before I close, I put in the chat box the access to the EU grants, which actually would be interesting to most of the participants here that I can see mostly are non-government, because EU grant targets non-government. And please explore, and this is what we can offer for now. And I think most of the donors are looking for a good case study for funding to build back better. And this is one of the opportunity that I can see many participants are very actively participating, and thanks to AIT for a good platform. And I also thank my colleague Helena in Paris, and again, thank all the speakers and participants and the team behind all this organization. With this, I would like to end this dialogue and wish you all a very good day. Thank you.